Okay, we will reconvene open session at this time, and if you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a few volunteers from Liberty High School that are going to come lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. All right, we need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
If no further discussion, Sandra, will you call roll?
Angie?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. That takes us to Honoring Excellence. Dallas.
Good evening, everyone. Going to start off with some recognitions this evening, and we're excited about a couple of groups from respective high schools and Liberty schools here this evening. You may recall just prior to, I believe it was just prior to the holiday, we recognized the Liberty High School yearbook for some of their recent accolades. And if you don't know by now, Liberty Public Schools does a good job with their yearbooks overall. As tonight we're going to recognize the Liberty North yearbook, the Erie staff from Liberty North. Let me just read a couple of their accomplishments here recently, and then I'll introduce their sponsor. Liberty North High School's 2014 yearbook, the Erie, received an All-American honor rating from the National Scholastic Press Association. The All-American rating is the highest rating NSPA Awards yearbooks, and the 2014 Erie received an additional 4 marks of distinction in the areas of concept essentials, coverage design, and writing editing. I believe they also brought their yearbook, their winning yearbook, with them tonight. It's kind of a tradition we started with the Spectator staff just a few months ago. Ronna Sparks Woodward, she is a longtime Liberty Public Schools employee, actually came to North from Liberty High School after a successful tenure at Liberty High. She is with us, and she is going to introduce her staff that have been so kind to join us here this evening.
This is Emily Vandal. She is the editor-in-chief of this year's book. Then we have Shelby Adkins. Emily Shoneman. Michaela Alexander. Madison Colley. And Savannah Culver. So most of these have editorial positions, except we have 2 new staff members who show a lot of promise. So start them young and continue the tradition of excellence. So
Awesome. Let's give these guys a big round of applause. I have an award for you guys, and you may want to pass the yearbook around for the board and administrators to look at. There you go. Congratulations. Great job. We also wanted to recognize a group that is doing amazing things here in the last several weeks, both on and off the basketball court. And you may have seen some of the things they have been doing both on and off the court here recently in some local media outlets. We're joined tonight by a few members of the Liberty High School girls basketball program. Their head coach is Noah Simpson. He is also with us this evening. I thought I would mix it up a little bit tonight, and if you haven't had a chance to see a story that aired recently on Fox 4, my friend Al Wallace from Fox 4 came out a few weeks ago and really did a great job to summarize some of the awesome things that this group of girls have been doing here recently. So let's go ahead and roll that footage.
Time now for this week's Fox 4 Hy-Vee High School Team of the Week, and for that, we go to the hoop and Liberty High School. The Liberty Blue Jays are one of the best basketball teams in the Metro, and they've got the record to prove it. Now 15-3, they've got wins over one of the best teams in Missouri, Columbia Rockbridge, and best teams in Kansas, Shawnee Mission Northwest.
At times we go up against more talented teams, but our hard work and dedication seems to take over in most of our games, and it's been fun to coach this group of kids.
The Blue Jays win on the court, and you could say that they're winners off the court too. During the holidays, they adopt a local family and work with the Salvation Army. That's nothing new. But what really stands out is the work they do with what they call their Sidekick program. Once a month, they spend time with young girls from a local elementary school, serving as mentors and role models.
The Sidekick program, where we team up with the elementary kids, has been tremendous.
Me personally, I love the community feel, so being able to give back to my community where I grew up, where I have all my friends and family at, is just really important to me.
We like to talk about what we got to do that day, and I know everyone really enjoys it, so it's a great opportunity for us.
And to see these kids grow up and to understand helping others is what is important. It's bigger than winning and losing. It's bigger than state titles. We want those things, but we want these kids to be good adults when they have the opportunity and they're well on their way.
On behalf of Hy-Vee and Fox 4, I would like to present the Team of the Week Award to the girls basketball team at the Liberty High School.
We would like to thank Hy-Vee and Fox 4 Sports for this honor and award.
Jays on blue, 1-2 blue! Jays!
Pretty cool stuff. I think you would agree with me. Just tremendous things taking place with this program, and I think Al mentioned in that special they were 15-3 at the time. Talking to Coach Simpson a minute ago, they're now 19-3. Recently named the Team of the Week, not only on Fox 4 but KCTV 5. He also did a great job, I thought, of hitting on the tremendous things they're doing in the community. The school he was referring to, I believe, was Manor Hill, where they do their Sidekick program, and that's where they visited a few weeks ago. And what's so interesting is we're hearing about all these things tonight about what they have done, and I don't know if you had a chance to catch a few weeks ago, there was a girl in Lawson that lost a home due to a fire, and some of these ladies raised money and presented it to this girls basketball player in Lawson. I just happened to be watching the news that night and caught it, and it made me stop and think, this is a PR director's dream team right here. These guys are phenomenal. So I'm going to have Coach Simpson come up at this time and introduce some of the members of his squad with us here tonight.
First, we just want to say thank you. I mean, this is a great award, and being on TV it's been a lot of fun. It's also been pretty humbling because you get to see how weird you look on TV. Myself, not them. They look great, but these kind of things don't happen without great families and great community support and great support from the top down. And I'm just lucky to be a part of it. Be able to coach these kids, what we do on the floor, what we do off the floor is just, I'm the lucky one. So extremely proud of these kids and the coaching staff that we have and the support that we have in administration at LHS. It's just been tremendous. So with that being said, I do want to introduce our kids and a coach that's with us. Starting on the right here, Morgan Fleming is a junior. Sydney Ofield is a junior. Alexa Marie Strauss is a senior. And Chiara Franklin is a senior. And then Coach Kirk, some of you would recognize as Coach Wansing. She's been with our staff the whole time I've been here, so it's a tremendous asset, and she's been a huge push behind the Sidekick program at Manor Hill, which it's just been great for our kids, and I believe for those kids too. So again, thank you guys for this, and thank you for recognizing these kids and the hard work they're doing.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. So awesome students to recognize here tonight, and very fortunate to have them a part of our family. That does it for Honoring Excellence this evening.
Very good. Thank you, Dallas. If you guys wouldn't mind sticking around for just a few more minutes, it's our tradition to take a quick break here and offer you our congratulations and get to meet you all as well. So before we do that, just want to remind everyone that if you'd like to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting, please fill out one of the blue cards right outside the door and get those to one of the board members, or get those to me up here, and we'll get you to the podium at the appropriate time. So right now we're going to take about a 9-minute break, and we will reconvene at 7:20. Okay, that takes us We will reconvene, and that takes us to public comment, but I didn't get any blue cards, and it looks like no one else did either, so we will move on to the consent agenda. And I always try to read this in advance. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board subcommittee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 3.01 through 6.03. Motion to that effect?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on consent? Seeing none, Sandra, will you please call the roll?
Angie?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. That takes us to Section 7, School Board Policy Updates.
We do have one item this evening to present for recommendation and approval by the board. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, rather than conducting full-blown MSIP visits, allows for what's referred to as an items not waived checklist. And part of that is for districts that are accredited to be able to still have some accountable items through that checklist, for which we're currently working with our executive leadership team to make certain we have the appropriate documentation for us to then turn around and submit that items not waived checklist to the state. One of those items is a particular policy of which we receive from the Missouri School Boards Association. This comes outside of our typical updates that we see and get to digest over the course of the spring. That is particular to item INC, which is related to speakers at district events. And so we've pushed that out to you for your review, but then are also recommending that this evening, having vetted it through appropriate channels, and bring that forward so that it can be approved, so we can continue to submit and complete the items not waived checklist for DESE requirement.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Tucker on this item? We do need action on this tonight.
Correct.
Is there a motion to approve policy INC as presented?
I move the board adopt policy INC on the first read.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Sandra, will you please call the roll?
Angie?
Yes.
Charlene?
Yes.
Kim Marie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. That takes us to unfinished business and 8.01 bond refunding.
We've been talking over the course of the last couple of months on a couple of items that we wanted to pursue, one of which being the refunding of the 2006 series, which will now be known as the 2015 series. So Greg Bricker from George K. Baum is with us again this evening, and we'll be taking it over from here as far as the specifics related to that refunding issue.
Thank you, Dr. Tucker. We began talking about this refunding in earnest at a December board meeting. We have discussed different ways of structuring this refunding at a work session in January, and I'm proud to announce that we have completed the sale of the refunding bonds this morning at an average interest rate of 1.95%, and the final savings from this refunding is $1,593,179.32. That is net of all fees and expenses associated with the refunding and will go to the benefit of the debt service fund. We've completed 4 refundings prior to this refunding we're working on now, collectively saving the district $7 million, and so this is an additional $1.6 million on top of that $7 million to total roughly $8.6 million. That's the good news. The bad news is our supply of refunding candidates are starting to slow down, so I don't know that you're going to see me next month, or maybe even next year, but the action item before you this evening is to adopt a bond resolution accepting the final interest rates I might introduce, for those that have not met him before, Bill Hess is with us this evening. He's with the law firm of Bryan Cave and serves as the district bond counsel and would have prepared all of the legal documents pertaining to this refunding. We've got a closing scheduled subject to the adoption of the resolution tonight for next Thursday, February 26th. As another point of fact, we have a closing on Wednesday the 25th on the lease financing that was approved at the last meeting. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
We've talked about this a lot. I think we're ready to roll, but if there are any questions?
Thank you.
The recommended action is, I move the board adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the issuance and delivery of $8,940,000 principal amount of Liberty Public School District Number 53, Clay County, Missouri General Obligation Refunding Bonds, Series 2015, Missouri Direct Deposit Program, prescribing the form and details of said bonds and authorizing and approving certain related documents, matters, and actions in connection with the issuance of said bonds. Is there a motion to that effect?
So,
Is there a second? Any further discussion on this item? If not, Sandra, will you please call roll?
Angie? Yes. Charlene? Kimberly? Yes. Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Takes us to 8.02, legislative priorities.
Another item that we've spent some time on is our legislative priorities. So you have 3 documents presented this evening in your packet. One is a letter from the district to our area legislators. Another document is a list of key priorities, to where you'll recall the last time we met, we talked about taking those priorities and really trying to consolidate them down into 3 key areas. One of which would be that of our learners or student well-being, focusing further on innovation, and that we've had quite a bit of success in our district, and we'll continue to realize that as we continue conversations on the future of learning within Liberty Public Schools, but taking that a little further to across the state of Missouri in respect to what innovation looks like. And then the third area that we honed in on was really focused on finance, and that we currently realize an underfunded formula and certainly want to be able to apply adequate funding and adequate resources to the initiatives that we have within our school district. The third piece, it would be additional considerations. And so in trying to hear the voice of the board in terms of working through that process, have really landed on these documents that are presented for recommendation to you this evening.
Very good. This is another one we've talked about since the plan on it in our work session a couple weeks ago. Any questions for Dr. Tucker on this one? I think we need a vote. Sorry, I lost my place here. Yes.
My only comment is I think the content has come together nicely. Regarding the actual cover letter, I'd love to see an engaged conversation with the legislature, at least with those in our area. And so it's maybe a stronger invite to sit down and have a healthy dialogue about the issues facing us together.
Any other comments, questions, discussion on this item? If not, we need a motion, suggest a motion as I move the board adopt the legislative priorities as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this issue? Seeing none, Sandra, will you please call the roll?
Angie? Yes. Charlene? Yes. Kimberly? Yes. Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Takes us to 9.01, contracts and agreements.
You have 5 contracts and agreements presented to you this evening, one of which we're putting forward for action upon first read. And it's an item that we've also discussed in some length as we've talked about reviewing our master plan process. Specific to this item, it's applied economics and a proposal to be able to update our demographic study, and that we continue to realize between 300 to 315 new students each year The last time that we did an update to our demographic study was May of 2013, and we've previously been conducting an update every couple of years, so we're due for that. The purpose for pushing it early upon approval of first read is that they will be in the area conducting some work, and so we'd like to take advantage of that opportunity and try to expedite that. That will do a couple of things for us, not only continue the conversation as it relates to master planning and that process, but then certainly in looking toward next year from an enrollment standpoint, along with assisting Human Resources Department in looking at staffing needs for next year. So we pushed that out this evening for action. The other items are presented to you, Apple Incorporated as far as that lease purchase agreement, Creative Carnival, Department of Social Services, and NetChemia for first read. We'll bring it back later in terms of the March meeting for approval in terms of moving forward on those contracts.
So regarding applied economics, this is the one that you needed approval on.
Correct.
This is the organization that we've contracted with before, and they've been pretty accurate over the years in where we're headed with our enrollment.
This update will take into consideration the reconfiguration, which was partly included in the last update that we realized. However, it didn't include the added elementary, and that now Epic Elementary is online, relieving a little bit of space and issues at each of the elementary campuses that it drew from.
I did also see that in the language in the scope to include development in those things.
So the only one that we would like to approve tonight is applied economics, and the suggested motion is I move the board approve the agreement with applied economics as presented. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? Very good. Any further discussion on this one? If not, Sandra, you please call roll.
Angie? Yes. Charlene? Yes. Kimberly? Yes. Lori? Yes. Andy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. So the other 4 contracts will be posted for the next month for the public and the board review, and we will pick it up at our next business meeting. All right, this takes us to section 10, report from the administration.
First up, we have academic services, and delivering that report this evening is Ms. Becky Gossett.
Good evening. I think you have the program evaluations for BIST and for guidance and counseling and for fine arts. And I believe Mr. Money is still here if you have any specific questions for him. And I'll do my best to answer questions on the other 2 if you have those. You also have our academic services report. And I'll just make a few little remarks regarding a few of the bullet points in the academic services report. You can see that online enrollment began last week for kindergarten, and very, very few little glitches in that process. There were a few, but they were easily corrected along the way. Dr. Hammond has worked hard to train staff so that they're ready for that process, and so far things are going quite well. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this week the English Language Arts professional development is occurring. Today elementary folks were in for that and met with a professional to help look at literacy strategies. Tomorrow is middle school, and Friday is special education as well, for special education ELA for middle school and high school. You'll see some notes from our executive director of elementary education also. And one of the pieces I wanted to point out is the work that's going on with project-based learning at EPIC. And I will say that it's not unique to EPIC anymore. That's what we're finding in a lot of ways, is things that we thought would be unique to EPIC are already rolling out in other settings, which is wonderful, really, and tells us that many of these things can be duplicated and very successfully in other environments. Let's see. And then also notice that Discovery Middle School made the web leaders, those are student leaders, who made a video to prevent bullying. And Dr. Williams has provided you a link to the video. And if you've not had a chance yet to view that, I don't recommend you do that during the board meeting because it will take your attention. But when you get home or at another time, when you have time, do look at that because it's really very good. They did a nice job on that. And I wanted to let you know, I believe we've mentioned this before, but just so you know, we really are rolling forward in getting a third site for elementary for our elementary ELL program. We're leaving all of those students who are in the group that attends Warren Hills. They'll continue to do that. But we're separating the kids who are currently at Manor Hill so that some of them will go to Schumacher. And one of the beautiful things is that many of those kids would attend Schumacher if they weren't in that program anyway. And so they'll be actually attending their school that is their attendance area school, as well as those kids who would attend Franklin if they weren't in that program. So we're not increasing staff. We have 2 teachers at Manor Hill now. One will go to Schumacher. And Schumacher has been very warm in welcoming that program. They're very excited about it. We've not heard from any parents who are upset about that, so we feel really good about it. This is a good way for us to expand services, really, and do the right thing. It'll probably decrease some cost in that transportation won't need to be provided for those kids. Let's see. It seems like there was something else to point out, but I don't see it. So, do you have any questions for me or for anyone else in our department?
Becky, what did you say were some examples of things that have happened at Epic and have kind of started to...
That have happened at Epic? Well,
kind of started to make their ways into other schools?
Sure. Project-based learning is probably one of those things that has happened, and that's when students can come up with their own interest-based problem. So it might be a local problem or a global problem, and they look at ways to solve that. We can integrate lots of curricular pieces through that process, and the learning occurs through the process as well as then there's often a product. We're seeing that everywhere. The use of technology, obviously, we're able to do more now, and then the way we use space. So you can look at those newer additions to some of our buildings and see that they're beginning to replicate some of the things that are going on at Epic. But the really cool thing also is that in places where they didn't maybe get that new space, they're looking at their space differently, and they're pulling together ways to use their traditional space, looking at flexible seating, looking at flexible grouping, and just a lot of those things that we thought it would take some time to roll out. I would imagine many of you have spent a little time at Epic, probably want to spend more. Most of us do once we've been there. But even secondary, we're having some good partnerships with some of our middle level buildings, and also high schools are looking at some of their practices and seeing how they can replicate those and make them appropriate at their levels.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have finance, and that's Ms. Cindy Sullivan.
Good evening. I wanted to let you know that the projected fund balance percentage is currently 18.8, so if everything goes as we're planning, that's where we should end up for the year. I also wanted to let you know that the Audit and Finance Committee, for the first time since November of 2011, got an investment report to review. So I'm really happy to report that we are investing some funds again, that interest rates came up enough at Commerce that we were able to invest in some vehicles that met with our time frame and our cash flow needs, and that were high enough over our repo rate that made it worthwhile to get back into the investment game a bit. They're not significant, but they are more than the repo is currently earning, so we felt real good about that. So Audit and Finance Committee did look at that, and that will be something new for them, and we didn't have any questions from them about that, but at our next April meeting, I'm sure that will be a topic that we discuss. But that's good news, so we're real happy that we're able to hopefully earn a little bit more interest now on those investments. Revenue, we're still hearing lots of different things floating in from Jeff City. I heard a $64.9 million addition to education funding. Dr. Tucker told me today he had heard some additional on top of that to get education funding up to the $100 million added to the budget, which is wonderful. We're still feeling like we're in monetary limbo, though, because we're still waiting to make sure that that actually happens. So I have no real concrete news other than what we're hearing. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me tonight?
We have money to invest. That's good.
It's awesome.
That's a new conversation.
That's a new, yes, a whole new.
I feel really good about that. Yes.
I get excited when I see the fund balance too.
Yes. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Next is Human Resources, Dr. Vogelaar.
Yes, thank you very much. I uploaded some documents there for your proposal. In terms of highlighting some of it, Team Liberty did meet on February 3rd. We're meeting again on March 3rd, so we're in that window of getting ready for our next Team Liberty meeting. We're wrapping up the compensation study for our support staff, which are all those members on our classified schedule and our professional technical schedule. In fact, the CEO of Evergreen Solutions LLC actually came to meet face-to-face and work with Team Liberty on February 3rd when they met. Invited some follow-up conversation around their draft proposal that I submitted to them on February 9th. They're working to revise, based on that feedback, a final draft report on the 24th. We'll get that out to Team Liberty in time to review for our March 3rd Team Liberty meeting. Ideally, that draft report then becomes a finalized document. We'll turn that out to all staff then and open a 2-week window where members of our classified and professional technical salary schedule can request a review of the data. So it's a very transparent process, and I publicly would just like to appreciate everything Evergreen Solutions has done really to drive this process home. In addition to, obviously, the Evergreen study, we are in the midst of all of our conversations around salary recommendations that will be made to Dr. Tucker. So Team Liberty is also in the midst of engaging in that conversation as well, and you see the list of kind of the salary objectives prioritized by Team Liberty in the last meeting. That's included in the report as well. Wellness, I have an update there on wellness. Probably the biggest part of that is they're launching. I know Dr. Tucker sent out a memo, and then Rebecca Fisher has launched login opportunities for all staff to participate in our health risk assessment and screenings. This is obviously an opportunity in a variety of locations for employees to take advantage of a very convenient way to participate in that activity. We have tied kind of a cost-sharing premium differential to meeting those objectives, health risk assessment and screening participation rates for the 2016 benefits year. So all employees who do participate in that, they'll receive a waiver then to not cost share on their premiums in 2016. So we're looking forward to a great deal of participation. Employees don't have to participate through our sites that we host on-site during this window of time of a couple months. They can do this with their personal doctor as a part of their annual well visits. So there's 2 ways in which they can engage in these health risk assessments and screenings. There's other information that's included on the board report tonight and the other documents there, but I won't touch on those specifically unless you have any questions.
Questions for Dr. Holbrook? This next one I have circled and highlighted, and that is Mr. Anderson in respect to operations. If you'd like to take the podium.
I'll just draw out a few issues out of the operations report that is uploaded. One, with respect to construction, out of the last conversation we had, we presented at the study session some of the interiors of the 2 high schools. That is back in Hollis and Miller's Court to kind of reconfigure some of the especially the graphics. And so anxious to kind of hear back from them here in the coming weeks, and then we'll follow up with you once we do receive something back from them. And then under transportation, I'd just like to highlight, we had our annual state inspection about a week or so ago, where the Missouri State Highway Patrol comes out and inspects the entire fleet. We received a 92% pass first time through, and which allows them to receive the Fleet Excellence Award, which is a really nice kind of kudos to that team down there. I actually went down for that day, for part of the day, to kind of watch that in action. It was an interesting process to see, but the crew is on standby and ready to act when there is something that fails, and they kind of swing in right away and take action to resolve the issue so that it passes while they're still there. So it was an interesting process, and really proud of the guys down there for doing all that they do. And the last thing I was going to mention, it's not in the report, anticipate in this week's Friday update that we'll provide a brief kind of overview of the synergistic energy management program. So we've been working on that for a while. We finally got the year's total numbered analysis of the program, and so we'll push that out this week. And then should you want more follow-up, we can look at doing that at March, the March meeting. So, yes?
So what kinds of things may fail before we're able to fix?
You know, I was really, it's very particular. I mean, there were like a light bulb was out, you know, it was very minor issues that they were picking up. Probably the most significant one was an exhaust pipe was 2.5 inches too long that they had to cut down. But everything was, there was nothing really structural to the vehicle. It was a lot of cosmetic issues.
It can go all the way down to a tear on a decal.
Yeah.
That can keep that bus from
So
passing.
nothing that we think would compromise safety?
Definitely not, right, yeah.
Also keep in mind that drivers go through that pre-trip inspection.
Right.
Every time they get on that vehicle, so it's very well looked over. As soon as there's an issue, our staff is on 92% to be commended in terms of how they did it. So. Questions, Mr. Anderson?
What was the last program you mentioned?
Synergistic. Synergistic, energy management.
Is that what Tony called it?
That's correct.
Right. Did you say he has an update coming for us at some
Well,
point?
so we prepared a report that captures the first full year of the program. So I think it was implemented September of 13, and so we finally had a chance to capture that full year. So we'll report out basically the run on the program, give an overview and a recap. It's just a couple-page report, and I think we'll just present that in the Friday update. And then if you would prefer to see that in a more formal way, we could bring in the synergistic folks or whatever down the road a little bit.
But that's coming fairly soon.
Yes, well,
I just said something to him about it. He said it's coming.
Yeah, it'll be in this week's packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry to Tony, I just butchered his last name. We're good.
Thanks, Mr. Anderson. The superintendent's report, just wanted to provide you a brief update on a couple of items. Much of our time over the course of the last month has been spent getting into schools and departments as it relates to the State of the District report. In terms of the video clip that was pushed to you all, pushed to our faculty and staff, and appreciate Mr. Ackerman in helping facilitate follow-up meetings for an opportunity for me to summarize some key points, then also expand and provide others the opportunity to ask questions. So within that clip, you noticed a focus on the mission, vision, and values that we have, some general thoughts in trying to take the complex and simplify it as it relates to the work that we do in the district. Focused on some facilities updates given all of our construction work over the course of the last several months. Focused on some performance data along with finance data, and then following it up, concluding with some areas of focus identified through my transition process. And so we've had some good participation at each of our buildings and departments. In fact, Mr. Ackerman said that the attendance would be pretty poor, but it's actually been very good, which was a little bit of a surprise. We are compiling a list of...
Just threw Dallas right under the bus there.
No, it was a unique observation.
At least it was safe.
But it's been good in that we're compiling the list of questions and items raised, which there are some common themes throughout, and then also putting together some responses to those as far as the questions that were posed. We still have a couple of more to finish up as we round out the month of February. Along with that, we were scheduled, Angie Reed and I were scheduled to attend the legislative forum today in Jefferson City as the legislature reconvened following President's Day weekend. They actually pushed their reconvening back to the end of this afternoon at about 4 o'clock, so they canceled the legislative forum. But appreciated David's comments in respect to inviting our legislators to dialogue with us, because so often they do hear about the negative finger pointing that occurs to Jefferson City and their role as a legislature. But we certainly have some ideas to share with them, and if anything, extend the actual invitation to come and see and experience the work that's going on in our schools, not just in Epic, but across the district. Another item to draw to your attention in that we are planning our next Vision 2020 meeting this Thursday, February 19th. Ms. Gossett spoke to some of the highlights that we're seeing come out of Epic, but we really landed on 4 key areas that we feel we can elevate for the purposes of our conversation with the Vision 2020 meeting on Thursday and those committee participants. Those areas include the focus on flexible space, and that we're really beginning to see that across the district with new construction, renovations, additions, focus on teaching and learning, and that we have some unique settings in which we provide for teaming opportunities of 50 students to 2 teachers, and looking at perhaps replicating that authentic learning and relevant, engaging experiences that we see through project-based learning, and focusing on that as well. And then finally, the use of technology toward personalization through the use of student data and the information that we gain on a variety of levels. So I think those are the 4 areas that we've highlighted thus far, albeit there will be more. We're going to spend some time learning as to what's going on in Epic, and then come back together as a committee to reflect on those experiences. The last item in that the School Board Advocacy Network are hosting a variety of regional meetings for which regions can come to Jefferson City to visit the Capitol and connect with legislators. That will take the place of the legislative forum that was canceled today. You should have received some information from MSBA, but we'll look to see what date that is scheduled for our region, and for those that are able to attend, try to visit the Capitol and connect with those legislators one-on-one in respect to our priorities, and invite them to come and see the work going on within Liberty Public Schools. That concludes the items that I had for my superintendent's report.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Tucker?
It's March 3rd. March 3rd. Thanks for getting that date. As far as the S-band visit?
Any other questions for administrators? If not, that takes us to upcoming meetings, which are listed there for you. Sandra, I don't know if we've done this in the past or not. Could we add baccalaureate times and commencement times? We're getting close to that.
Yeah.
And we're going to need to start blocking some dates and weekends. Eileen, you need to do that too. Board of Education reports, any committee reports? We have one appointment, that's section 12.02. We need to appoint a board member to serve on the City of Liberty's Economic Development Sales Tax Board. This does not require a vote. Andy has expressed some interest in doing that. If we're okay with doing that, Andy can represent us. If not, we can discuss it. If anybody else is interested.
I think Andy's a good choice.
Andy's a good choice? Okay. If everybody's okay with that, we will put Andy's name forth and let him represent us on that committee. Thank you, Andy. 12.03, board remarks. No? All right. Need a motion to adjourn. Sandy, you call that?
Kimberly?
Yes.
Darlene?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Andy? David?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned.